Aloha. Today we're going to look at backbraiding Dyneema. It's a slang term really for Brummel eye splicing and long berry splicing. Nobody is going to take the time to braid these individual fibers back on themselves. Now the reason you're going to want to back braid is to keep the line breaking strength at 100%. Anytime you tie a knot in a line, you're compromising the breaking strength. You're also creating a point that can snag. So this comes in handy when you're making breakaways, when you're trying to finish onto your spear, or the opposite end of your reel line, or in other cases, float line plugs. So today we're going to be using Aussie Reels line, which is this extra line I've got right here, because it's the best stuff ever made. You're going to need some scissors to cut that stuff, and a splicing tool. Now the splicing tool you can find online for way more than you should ever really pay for a splicing tool, or you can go and get some safety wire or some baling twine, run it through a piece of plastic tubing like I've done here, twist it on the bottom so it holds together, and then just tape it to protect your hands. So the first thing you're going to want to do is decide how big you want your loop. You can mark it with a Sharpie if you want, but realistically, as long as you know what you want to end up with, you'll be okay. So once you get this, we'll say we're going to make our eyelet about this big. You want to keep in mind that you need 7 times the diameter of the rope for the long berry splice at the end. So this is 1.7 millimeter line. I'm not going to do the math or measure this out, but this is definitely more than 7 times the length. So you want to take your freestanding end here and just squish it down a little bit until you can see the individual gaps between the weave. You're going to take your splicing tool. You're going to find halfway through that. You want to make sure you evenly split the line without snagging some of the other individual fibers on the way through. Once you get that through, you'll take your working end here, insert it in your loop. You don't want too much overhang because it's just going to make it more difficult to pull through. So then you'll just pull up this way, pull that on through. Now I've got the first part of my loop right here. Now I'm going to take the opposite end of this here and move that over. Now that we've gone through this section right here with this lower section, we're going to take this and go through the one that just went through on the initial pass. So same thing here, just bunch it up a little bit until you can see the individual weaves. Go through as close to dead center of the line as you can, and try not to snag a line like I just did here. So you'll just move that over before you push all the way through. Grab your freestanding end, feed that back through, and once again you just pull that right on through there. Pull that all the way through, and what you should end up with is something that looks like an 8. Now from there, just grab this and pull until those 2 points that you just went through there cinch up together. That is what you call a Brummel lock splice. And it's the foundation of what actually gives a line its 100% breaking strength without compromising. And now we have all this extra line left over here. So what we're going to want to do with that is figure out roughly where it's going to terminate, which is about there. I'm going to bunch that up again. We're going to take our splice tool, maybe, split the individual fibers here to get this inside of the line. This is honestly the most painstaking part of this process. Once you get in there, you're just going to want to slowly feed the line all the way down until you get up to where your Brummel lock splice was. Now once we get here, it doesn't really matter how close to the eye splices you decide to come back through. That's more aesthetic than function. So we'll come over here, and once again here you don't want to feed too much through because if you feed too much through, you're going to have a hard time pulling this through later. So we'll just start slowly pulling this through here. Might take some wiggling, and then you just keep feeding it gently through until you get that all the way through there. And you can see we've got a little bit bunched up still here. So now we're just going to grab this eyelet, pull that all the way through. Now it's tucked, And then from there we'll just pull this all the way back down. And if you have some excess like I do here, you can just pull that back out a little bit, trim it off, and then pull that back through like so. So now we have our back braided or spliced, lock spliced eye loop in our Dyneema.